Hello, hello. I hope everybody can hear me. So, writing content for SEO is actually one of the most important things you will ever do as an SEO specialist, right? Because at the end of the day, content becomes a good part or a big integral part of on-page SEO. And that is why it is very important that you know or you learn how to write content that rank organically on Google. So this is why I want to take my time tonight. Yeah, this is Africa, this is Nigeria. I want to take my time to outline some of the things that you must do, some of the things that you must learn how to do in order to write a content that is engaging and that also rank organically on Google. So I want to use one example here because once again writing content on your website takes a bit of mental work. Do you understand it? So let me know in the comment section if you can hear me. If you are here in this live session and you can hear me, do let me know in the comment section that you can hear me, right? Please go ahead and do that now. It is very important so I can know you are hearing me. Yeah, so if I'm loud and clear, please let me know in the comment section that I'm loud and clear. All right. Thank you so much, Digitech Academy, for joining the call. All right. So once again, if you can hear me, please do let me know in the comment section that you can hear me loud and clear, please. So once again, if you can hear me. All right. So welcome once again here to this live session, guys. I just hope everybody can hear me. I hope everyone can hear me. All right. So welcome once again here to this live session, guys. I just hope everybody can hear me. I hope everyone can hear me. All right, so let me believe everybody is hearing what I'm saying and you can flow alongside with me. So once again, writing content requires a bit of your mental alertness. So you wouldn't want to get yourself into writing content and then you are distracted with activities. Do you understand? So that is why you must settle down to write your content. So very quickly, we will be looking at some very important checklists before content is written. So once again, we'll be using this example on my screen right here, how to sell cars online in Nigeria, my personal experience, right? So to write your content, you obviously need to do your keyword research. Obviously, you need to settle with your keyword. I mean, you need to understand what particular keyword you are gunning out for and what particular keyword you are looking forward to optimizing your content for. Apart from this, also you need to understand your ideal audiences. Every content has an audience, so you must understand your audiences, and also you must have a writing tone, right? You must have a tone by which you want to deliver this particular content, and very importantly also your content must have structuring. And sometimes I like to put it this way, right, that your content structuring comes into or comes inside your content brief. So if you have a content brief, your content brief definitely houses your content structuring, right? And last but not least, you want to ensure that all of your SEO checklists are done. Do you understand? So we'll be covering all of this in a short moment in this particular discussion. So let's assume that I've done my keyword research and I've settled with how to sell cars online in Nigeria as my focus keyword, right? So the next thing you want to do from here is to launch out into developing your content brief. Do you understand? You want to develop your content brief because your content brief eventually guides you on how to go about doing this. Your content brief guides you on how to go about writing your content. So we want to go ahead now and develop a content brief. Do you understand? So we will develop a content brief with this keyword right here, how to sell cars online in Nigeria. So now what exactly is a content brief? A content brief is a piece of document that actually maps out the layering of your content, a kind of skeletal overview. Do you get a kind of skeletal overview of what your content would look like? That is what the content brief is all about. So content brief helps you to understand what your content will look like. It helps you to capture some very important information like your potential audiences, right, and your competitors and several other information. Now I wouldn't go right into doing content brief, doing it manually for the sake of time. I will simply employ the assistance of ChatGPT to help us map out a content brief, to give us an idea on who on some of the things that must be contained inside of a typical content brief document. Do you understand? Now let's go right into ChatGPT quickly, right? And let's ask the guy to give us a list of what should be contained or what we should have inside the content brief. So I did this already. I said map me a complete SEO blog content brief checklist. So the very first thing the guy is asking me to do is to ensure that my content brief contains my target audiences, right? So how I like to do this sometimes is use a Microsoft document, right? I sometimes like to use Microsoft Excel to write this out, to design this, and I wouldn't get into that also because of our time, right? But at your own leisure time, you can do this yourself. So get your target audiences out, right? And then let me quickly use a Google document quickly. So let me use docs.google to get this done, just as a sample for you to get to see what exactly we will do in a content brief. So a content brief must house your target audiences. Very importantly that you note this. So your target audiences, for instance, it must house your target audiences quickly. So apart from target audiences, ChatGPT says our content brief will house the primary and the secondary keywords, right? It must also house the title and the headline suggestions, and of course also the meta description, right? Our content brief also will have the content outline or the structuring, the H1, the H2, the H3, the content flow, and several other structuring within the content. It also says that it must contain content specification like the word count. What is the total number of words that must be found in your content? It must contain the content tone and style. It will also house things like reading level and formatting requirements, right? And of course, SEO best practices or SEO checklists. It will also house things like user engagement element, that is the call to action. It will also house the technical SEO and some other checklists like that. It will also house your competitor researching, or who your ideal competitors are. It will also house content promotion and distribution, how you plan to distribute or to share this content with people, right? It will also house things like the success metrics and key performance indicators that your content will be measured by. So now the very first thing here is the ideal audiences, right? So the audiences that this content will be reaching, right? And then of course also ChatGPT says this will have something like the primary and the secondary keywords right here. So primary and secondary keywords here, right? The next thing is the title and headline suggestions right here, and then it will house the meta description for your content. So sometimes some of these items may be obsolete or really not important, but let's just get this out, right? And then we will fine-tune much more later. So content outline and structure, and right here we have specification here. So specification, sometimes your client will have a well designed or decorated document for you as a content brief, right? But if you check closely, you will discover that even though it is very well designed, it still houses some of these things that are mentioned right now. Do you understand? So technical SEO checklist must be found inside of your content brief. Do you get it? So next one should be the competitor research. Who are your ideal competitors? So this content brief here, no matter how well decorated or designed the content document is, it still houses the same information that an ideal content brief must house. So quickly guys, you cannot go ahead to write a content an SEO blog content if you don't have a content brief. Your content brief is very important, right? Your content brief is just like the map, the guide by which you reach your desired destination. So you cannot write a content, once again, let me emphasize this, you cannot write a content without a content brief. As an SEO specialist, if you do not have a content brief, you may not have a business writing a content. Sometimes you will need to interpret a content brief. As I said earlier on, your client may give you a content brief by which you write a content, or you may be expected to develop a content brief from ground up. So whichever way, you need a content brief to write or to interpret a content or to optimize an existing content. So now for the focus keyword at hand, right, for the focus keyword at hand under consideration, we are looking at a focus keyword, how to sell cars online in Nigeria. So focus keyword is this, how to sell. So primary keyword, my primary keyword is how to sell cars online in Nigeria, right here, right? How to sell cars online in Nigeria. who are my audiences, who are my target audiences or ideal readers. So now from personal research, right, from personal research, my ideal audiences or those guys I want to target with this content are simply car sellers, right, car sellers or car vendors, right. So they may also be car owners, right, car owners, right. So these are the two primary target audiences for my blog content, right. Car vendors or car owners, these guys definitely want to spend some amount of money to sell their cars. They don't really mind spending some amount of money to sell their cars, right. So it becomes very important for them to sell their cars because they want to make money, right. So our target audiences are car owners, car vendors, right, or probably car owners who may not have plenty money to market their cars, but they also want to make money as well. So car owners, car vendors. So I have settled the ideal audiences or the target audiences, right, and their intent. What are their intent? What is their primary intent? Their primary intent is simply commercial, right. I said it again, I said it at the beginning that these guys want to make money, right. They want to sell their cars. If they are car vendors, they want to sell their cars and make money. If they are car owners, they may not want to spend some money, but they want to make money. So at the end of the day, the bottom line becomes the fact that the intent behind this search term is commercial. Do you understand? So it's a commercial kind of focus keyword, because at the end of the day, money is going to be exchanging hands. That is why this is a commercial kind of content. So the primary keyword once again is how to sell cars in Nigeria, online in Nigeria, and the person's location is simply Nigeria. The person is not looking to sell their cars in UK or in Germany or in Italy. Do you get? The person's primary location is simply Nigeria. So what are some of the secondary keywords, the secondary search terms? Secondary search terms are search terms that are closely related to the primary keyword semantically. Do you get? So we can there are several ways by which you can get a secondary keyword for a primary keyword like this. So if you make a simple search on Google, for instance, how to sell cars online in Nigeria, you will find good examples of things that you can use as your secondary keywords, right. If you scroll down to the bottom part of this search result, so quickly let's do this, right. I will do google.com/preferences, so that I'm sure that all search results I'm getting from here are directly Nigerian searches. So come to other settings right here, language and region, change your result region to Nigeria. Your result region must be in your primary place of focus, Nigeria. So I confirm this, and then I'm sure that this is showing me primarily Nigerian searches. So once again, I'll go ahead and search for this, how to sell cars online in Nigeria, and this pops this up. So if I scroll down to the bottom part of this, I will see how to sell cars online in Nigeria for free, right. How to sell cars online in Nigeria for cash, how to sell my car in Nigeria, where can I sell my car fast in Nigeria, right. So ideally this suggests to me like platforms. These particular searchers are simply looking for platforms where they can sell their cars in Nigeria, right. And when somebody add fast, how to sell my car fast in Nigeria, the person also is looking for the timeline for selling their cars. So these are ideas for you that obviously can come into your content as secondary keywords or as subtitles. Do you understand? So how to sell cars online in Nigeria for free. So primarily the person is looking for platforms to sell cars for free. So if I were you guys, if you are listening to me, if I were you, I will simply have things like how to sell platforms to sell my cars for free. I mean, free platforms to list my cars for sales, and maybe premium platforms also to list my cars for sale in Nigeria. Do you understand? So this guy has how to sell cars online in Nigeria for free, right? And this one also has how to sell cars for in Nigeria fast. Where can I sell my car fast in Nigeria? So I will have this one right here. So my secondary keyword may look something like platforms, right? So car selling platforms in Nigeria, right? So car selling platform in Nigeria. And then also I can have something like how to sell, okay, OLX Nigeria, how to sell cars online in Nigeria. Let's scroll up a bit to people also ask right here. We should find some ideas for our secondary keywords. So where is the best site for second-hand cars? Okay, what are the best car sales websites? And how much is okay, so which business can I sell for this? So what business can make, okay, so this is not part of what we're looking for. What is the best car website in Nigeria? So this is still platform, right? This is still platform, and this fits directly into this secondary keyword here, right? So if you scroll up a bit to the top of the page, you will see some items that are bolded, right? These items are bolded right here: sell, car, selling, and all of that. Just go through the first page, you see them. Sales right here, vehicles online, selling. So check out for all of the bolded items, right? All these bolded items, these are still contextual keywords, right? We sometimes call them LSI keywords sometimes, right? These are still items that can come into your content at the end of the day, that help Google understand what exactly your content is all about. Kind of gives Google an idea of what your content is all about, right? So, but of course, we will move on from here. Secondary keywords or keyword: car selling platforms in Nigeria. So title and headline for the content, meta description, and the content tone, right? Content tone and structuring right here. So it says content tone should be, so I asked ChatGPT also sometimes back, give me an example of blog content tones, right? And ChatGPT says we have conversational tone, we have authoritative tone, we have inspirational tone, and the list goes on and on. So there are various types of content writing tones that you can also employ for your content. So, and we can have a combination of all of these content tones together inside a single blog content, right? So if you do this and you take your time to map out your content brief, right, you will have a perfect content at the end of the day. So I'm going to be writing this content right away, but in this case I'm going to be using a conversational kind of content tone to write my content. So now look at my focus keyword once again: how to sell cars online in Nigeria, my personal experience. So I want to come off as a friend. I want to come off as a friend willing to converse, right? So I simply want to make this a conversational kind of content, right, which is the tone I want to employ. But once again, we can have different content tones inside a single content, right? So your content can be conversational, at the same time it can be authoritative, right? At the same time also it can be inspirational. So you can have a combination of different tones inside of your content, right? So I'm simply going to be coming off first of all as a friend conversationally. Do you understand? So what kind of structuring am I using for my content? What content structure am I using? I'm simply going to be structuring my content with a structure I title the PIOC, right? The PIOC. So there are different content structures that you can also employ. You can employ things like the PAS. You can employ PAS structure. You can also employ the Lima framework, right? So structuring or framework of your content, right? So structuring or framework sometimes interchangeably used, right? So PyOC is my personal framework or structure for content writing, and this simply addresses the problem, right? The problem the person is probably going through, right? It addresses the information, and of course I will explain more about this as I write the content, right? So apart from this, you are looking into options, right? You are looking also into helping the person to select one of the options. Once again, I will explain this shortly, right? And of course you have execution, and you have evaluation. So for those who actually know me very well, I employ the PyOC framework. So originally, guys, PyOC is not a structure or a content writing structure for SEO or for content. It was a structure that was developed in the aviation industry. It was for aviators, I mean pilots. So pilots use the PyOC framework to tackle problems, right? This framework is used by pilots in mid-air to tackle problems. I mean a problem that an aircraft may have, right? So first of all, the pilots are able to find out the problem. Do you get? They find out, they discover, they brainstorm, and they find out what exactly the problem or the problems are, right? More information is dug into the problem. So a bit of information is found out about the problem, and apart from this also, they outline options. What are the available options by which this problem can be solved? Now, when these options are selected, or when these options are found, then one or two of these options are selected, right? And when these options are selected, then the pilots go ahead to execute. They execute the selected option, and they immediately troubleshoot or evaluate to see how exactly this executed option functions. Is it effective enough to curb or to stop the problem from surfacing again or permanently, right? So this is what the PyOC formula is all about, and I have always employed this same framework also in content writing, knowing fully well that every content I write is meant to solve a particular problem. Do you understand? So I am coming off from every content I write as a problem solver. So a guy is looking forward to selling his cars. That becomes a problem for the guy. He's got a problem, and he's looking for a means by which he can solve the problem also. Do you understand? So that is why every content I write, I come off as a solution giver, as a problem solver. Do you understand? So I simply look at the problem as an aircraft in mid-air that is about to crash and needing the pilot to provide quick solution to it. So that is how I come off, that is how I attack all content that I write. Do you understand? So the next framework we have here is the PASS framework, which definitely looks into the problem, the problem the person may be having, the problem, right? Then the agitation and solution right here. And the last framework here is what was developed by an SEO specialist in Nigeria, Lillian Ubaja or thereabout, and this is called the Lima, which looks into logic, right? Logic, explicitness, memorability, and actionable. Right? Actionable. So that now this simply says that your content must be logical, right? I wouldn't take my time to go into that tonight because of the length of this video. And then your content must be explicit, right? It must be detailed enough to help somebody solve a particular problem. Your content must be memorable, and of course it must be actionable. So these are just few examples in the industry that anybody can employ to write good quality content. Now, having said this, let's go right ahead to write our content, employing the PyOC, right? The PyOC framework. So first of all, let's look at the problem, right? Let's look at the problem. So look at how I started my content. I recently completed an online campaign for a big car marketplace. That was my experience, right? My experience, I recently had an experience where I completed an online marketing campaign for a big marketplace, and I'm bringing that on board as a way of starting my content. That is conversation, right? I mean, I'm simply writing as though I'm conversing with a friend. So I recently completed an online campaign for a big marketplace, and the lessons I learned from this campaign will forever be valuable to me, especially as I forge ahead in my online marketing career. Before I get started with outlining how to sell cars online in Nigeria, now I'm bringing on board my focus keyword, right? My focus keyword appears right here. It becomes important to state some of the issues most car sellers in Nigeria have. Now, guys, I want to now start talking about the problem. I hope you can see how I'm bringing this on board already. First of all, I'm coming in as a friend, conversing with a friend, sharing my experience with the guy about how I recently had an experience running an online campaign for a big car marketplace in Nigeria, and I learned so many experience. I garnered a lot of experience from doing that, and from this alone, I have found out a problem that most car owners in Nigeria have. I hope you can see this, right? Yeah, so now I'll go ahead right now and put this together, and I'll do less of talking going forward. Just take your time to look at my screen and study how I'm able to put this problem together, right? So first of all, I will be employing the assistance of ChatGPT to help me outline what some of the problems car owners in Nigeria may have, right? Yeah, let's get started with this immediately. Hello AI. I am currently writing a blog post about how to sell cars online in Nigeria. First, I want to outline I want to write a problem statement, and this will house some of the major problems car owners or vendors have in trying to sell their cars in Nigeria. Please note, my target audiences are car owners, car vendors, sellers, and car owners. So let me go right ahead to do this. Alright, it says problem statement: selling cars online in Nigeria present a unique this and that. So one major issue is limited access to trustworthy buyer pool. That is a big problem. Limited access to a trustworthy buyer pool, right? Apart from this, competition among sellers, right, is another big problem. Limited reach of local platforms is another problem that ChatGPT has outlined. So let me ask the guy to make me, so let me say add 3 more problems. Add 3 more problems. It says certainly, right? Difficulty in building trust with buyers, right? Inadequate knowledge of vehicle documentation and legal requirements. Challenges with pricing strategy and market trend. Yeah, these are some of the big problems that car vendors or car sellers in Nigeria may have, right? And that is why you want to pick this out and write a problem statement yourself. Do you understand? So now let's get started. Limited access to trustworthy buyer pool, right? So there is really no platform in Nigeria where people get to sell their cars, and maybe trustworthy platforms, I must add. So, and that one is competition among sellers. Yeah, let me copy this quickly and head back to my blog content. So before I get started with outlining how to sell cars online in Nigeria, it becomes important to state some of the issues most car sellers, some of the issues slash problems, right? Problems most car sellers in Nigeria have, right? So full stop. I will start with competition among sellers. So let me make this a bulleted item, right? Yeah, bulleted item first of all. So let me add this here, competition among sellers. Yeah, competition among sellers. Let me make this a heading quickly. Obviously I wouldn't make this a heading 2. I'll make this a heading 3, right? And the problems will be here most definitely. So car selling problems in Nigeria, right? So this is heading right here, and this is heading 2, right? Heading 2. To sell your car in Nigeria, either as a vendor or as an individual car owner, there are some hurdles you must cross, and these have been outlined below. So number 1 of this is competition among sellers, right? Competition among sellers. There are several car sellers in Nigeria, with each promising good customer service, trust, and so much more, and so many other things that should originally make a car buyer, pull out their credit cards and buy. So take your time to look at this and add flesh to each of the problems, right? So I've made one problem, I've made a list of one problem, right? So you want to go ahead and add flesh to this. Now what exactly are you talking about from here? Now, since we have several car sellers in Nigeria, this is obviously a problem that most car sellers will go through, right? Because the competition becomes stiff, and buyers are at the end of the day confused on how exactly they can go ahead to do business with any one of these guys, because there are so many of them, right? So if a guy is coming up to sell his cars, he's literally going to be going head to head with several other competitors in the industry or in the market in Nigeria. So this becomes a problem, right? So now, apart from this problem, we have other ones also. So simply go ahead once again and add flesh to each of these problems, right? So limited access to trustworthy buyer pool, right? So that is platforms, right? Platforms becomes a problem also, where people can get to sell their cars. So number 2 problem is obviously limited access to trustworthy buyer pool, right, or platform, right? So platforms where people can get buyers. So where exactly can you get buyers to sell your cars to in Nigeria, right? So that becomes a problem also that most car sellers will interface with in the process of wanting to sell their cars, right? So apart from this, we have other problems also, right? Problems like we have another problem right here, like a minute please. Yeah, so another problem here is difficulty, trust issues with buyers. So trust issues with buyers becomes a problem that will obviously hamper the success of car sellers in Nigeria, right? Yeah, so trust issues, number 3, trust with buyers becomes a problem that most car sellers will actually get to face in the course of wanting to sell their cars. Now this is sorted out. Once again, take your time to add flesh to each of these problems, right? Take your time to add flesh to them. So now, coming off as a conversationalist, as a guy who is simply trying to converse with a friend, you can actually add flesh to this by simply conversing. I mean, writing your content as though you are conversing with a friend, right? Write your content as though you are conversing with a friend, and not coming off as a guy who is a complete expert in this. Do you understand? So just imagine your friend is asking you, how can I sell my car online in Nigeria? You are starting off by explaining what the problems are, right? And that makes you a friend, obviously, because you want to explain what the problems the person is going to be facing first of all, and discussing each of these problems with the person. Now, moving on from here, what are the options, right? So Payosi states that you are talking about the problem first of all, and also you are giving information about the problem, which is what we have done here by adding flesh to each of the problem. So when you talk about the problem, you want to add flesh also to the problem by explaining the problem in depth. What exactly is this, and why exactly is this particular problem existing? Why do we have so many trust issues in the country, right? That is hindering buyers from patronizing car sellers. Why do we have so many limited access to car selling platforms in Nigeria? So you want to explain these things inside each of the outlined problems, right? So when you do this, you move on to the next item, which is options. Options are simply what are the available means by which people sell their cars in Nigeria, which obviously leads us to how to sell our cars in Nigeria, right? Which is the heart of the content itself. So what are the options available to a guy that may want to sell his cars in Nigeria, which is where our focus keyword comes into place, right? Now, what's our primary keyword? Our primary keyword is how to sell your cars online in Nigeria. So if I were you, I would simply put this up as a title inside of my content. How to sell your cars online in Nigeria becomes a title, right? And if you check this online, studying your competitors, you will notice something that about the content that are ranking on page 1. They are all listed items. They are all listicles. So this guy says, sell your car online, use cars and get paid instantly. This one says top 20 car selling websites in Nigeria, right? This one says 9 ways to sell more cars online. These are listicles. these are listed items. The first page of Google has given you an idea on how exactly you can go about writing your content. Your content must be in the form of listicle, listed items, right? So if I come down here and I have how to sell cars online in Nigeria, my content right here will simply be in the form of listed items, right? And of course, as an expert, I know that one of the ways by which you can sell your car is by simply owning a website, right? Own a website, right? Own a car website, a car selling website. That's number one. So this also, once again, will come off as my H2. This is going to be coming in as H2, and this ones also will come in as H3 right here. So heading, right? Heading will come in as H3. And once again, you want to go right into this car selling website and dig into it, right? You want to help the person understand the why. Why must you own a car website in the first place, right? Why should you bother yourself with owning a car website? Do you understand? So writing or owning a car selling website is very important because it helps you to list your cars, explain the features of your cars, and even serve as your 24 hours customer service. Do you understand? So you want to take your time and converse with a friend who wants to know why I must own a car in the first place. Why must I care to own a car website? Do you understand? So car website becomes one of the solutions to how to sell cars online in Nigeria, right? And apart from this, you want to discuss something like growing a tech skill, growing a digital skill. So you want to explain to this guy that if you have a digital marketing skill, it becomes easier for you to sell your car, right? How do you sell your car online in Nigeria? You must have a digital skill. You must also own a website, obviously. Maybe also you must have a Google business profile to sell your car, right? You must do search engine optimization. You must optimize your brand organically on Google, right? You must also do this. You must also do that. Do you understand? So all of this come into how to sell car online in Nigeria, and they must all be in the form of heading, right? As a matter of fact, heading 3. They must all be in the form of heading 3, right here. So you are simply already explaining, giving structure to your content. Do you understand? Using the PIOC framework, right? Which is the problem, outlining the problem or explaining the problem in the form of bullet points or in the form of paragraph. So you can either put up your problem statement in the form of a paragraph or in the form of a bullet, as I did right here. Do you understand? So H3 right here for the options, right? The options in the form of H3. And moving on from here, right, we want to look at the selection. Can you help this guy narrow down on which of these options the person must do immediately, right? So you have told the guy to build website, right, to list his website to list his cars rather on a platform, on the car selling platform. Then how do you help the guy select? How do you help the guy make up his mind, right, to go ahead and pick these particular ones? So having a website is good, but it may be expensive to do, right? Having a car website may be very good and fascinating, but it may be very expensive to design or to own. So you want to help this guy narrow down their options, which is what I'm going to go right ahead now and do, which is which leads me obviously to car selling platforms, right? So, or you can have something like you can have a title like where to sell your cars, right? Where to sell cars, right? Where to sell cars in Nigeria, or platforms to sell cars, free platforms to sell your cars, right? So this is already helping the guy to select, oh, I can actually sell my car on a free platform also without necessarily owning my own website, right? I can help a guy, I can sell my car already without necessarily having to set up a Google business profile account, which was what you gave out to the guy in the previous section, which are the options. The options were, oh, you need to have a Google business profile, you need to set up your website, you need to master search engine optimization skill, you need to know how to run paid campaigns, you need to know how to do this and that, right? These were the options you gave to the guy. But in this particular section, you are simply helping the guy select, oh, I can actually sell my car on a free platform without necessarily having to build my own website, even though the guy has suggested to me in the previous slide that I should own a website, right? Explaining why I must have a website, which is very important. But he has gone ahead once again to suggest platforms where I can list my cars, right, without having to necessarily build a website. So please, if you are hearing me and you are following, please let me know in the comment section that you are hearing me audibly and you are following every bit of what I'm saying also. Right, so these are the means by which the guy can now narrow down his options, which is the select, right? So you can make up your mind to sell your car on a free platform without having to necessarily own a website, right? So another subtitle may be platforms, right? Premium platforms to sell cars in Nigeria, right? This also comes into play as H2, right? H2 right here, heading 2. Do you understand? So in the previous heading, free platforms to sell your cars in Nigeria. So this is heading 1, heading 2 rather, and this is heading 2 also. But under here, you are making a list, right? A list here, this, another list here, right? Another list here, explaining or outlining free platforms where this guy can sell his cars, right? And also here, you are also outlining platforms where this guy can sell his cars at a fee. Maybe they'll charge him for selling his cars on these platforms anyways. That is exactly what you are doing, and by doing this, you are simply helping this guy to select. This guy may not know what is required of him to build a website, obviously, because building of a website may be too tedious or too cumbersome for him, who knows, right? But you are simply helping him select, oh, I don't necessarily need to have a website, I can just go right ahead and list my car on Gigi. Oh, I don't need to have a website, I can go right ahead and list my car on OLX, right? This is helping the guy to select an option, right? Don't forget, you have outlined these options above when you said how to sell your cars online in Nigeria. Number 1, own a website, grow a skill, own a GBP account, do SEO, and do paid advertising on Facebook and all of that, right? You are simply in the next paragraph helping the guy to select, oh, website is good for car sales, but this guy is helping me to select websites, and not just any kind of website. He is simply helping me to select free websites where I can list my cars, right? Oh, he suggested to me that I can sell my car on a premium website that is sure to help me drive traffic immediately. This is simply helping the guy to select, right? To select one of these options at the top, right? Now, apart from this, also you can go ahead and mention so let's say free local listings or free local citation platforms to sell your car in Nigeria, right? And what exactly did I just do here, guys? I'm simply buttressing on Google Business Profile, right? I've given this guy an option of listing their business on Google Business Profile, but now I'm helping this guy to select Google Business Profile as a suggestion to him. Now, how did I do this? I simply said free local citation platforms to sell your cars in Nigeria, and Google Business Profile is a good example of local citation, right? So what I have just the guy to say, oh, while I have given you all of these options by which you can sell your cars, I am now going deeper by experience and of course as a friend, that if you select websites and Google Business Profile, you most likely will sell more cars, which was why I went ahead to list out free website platforms where this guy can sell his cars, or premium website platforms where this guy can sell his cars, or local citations where this guy can sell his cars, like Google Business Profile, like Clutch as a local listing, and several other local listings in Nigeria. Do you understand? So these are structures that you can follow for your content also, and write good quality blog content that is user friendly, right? That Google classifies as being user first before search engine. Do you understand? So I have helped this guy to select two options, website and Google Business Profile. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be executing. And what do I mean by execution? You are simply going to be walking this guy through how to register on these free platforms, right? You are simply helping this guy to know how to register on these free website platforms where you have suggested to him to list his cars. So if I'm asking the guy to go and list his car on Gigi, for instance, I want to help you with the step-by-step approach or the step-by-step guide to listing your car on Gigi, which is the execution. Are you following me at all? Leave me in the comment section if you are following what I'm saying. If you are following me, please leave this in the comment section. Let me know if you are getting what I'm saying, right? So I have helped this guy to make options. I have also helped him to select two out of the options, website and Google Business Profile. And now I want to help him execute, right? So now this brings me back to my blog content. Under each of these platforms I'm listing here, I am going to be writing so detailed content explaining to this guy with screenshots of those platforms how to sign up and how to list their cars on the website, which is very explicit, right? Very explicit at the end of the day. When you are done with writing this content, you most likely will have no less than 3,000 words content at the end of the day, guys. Do you understand? So you are simply helping the guy to learn how he or she can take action immediately. Don't forget, PyOC is a framework that is used by pilots in mid-air, right, to take care of aviation problems. When an aircraft is looking like it wants to crash, right, the pilot can initiate a PyOC to quickly troubleshoot what the problem is, know what the problem is, right, explain deeply or give a bit of explanation or information about the problem, right? And when this is done, the pilot goes ahead to list out options by which this problem can be solved, right? And apart from these options, the pilot then settles for one or two of these outlined options, and finally the pilot executes this option. And in your case, since you have suggested to your friend that, oh, these are the list of free platforms where you can list your cars, right, you want to help the person execute also with screenshot of step-by-step approach by which this guy can list his property on the platforms you have suggested to them, you have selected, right? And now when you have executed with screenshot and step-by-step guide on how to go about listing their cars or thereabouts on these platforms, you want to evaluate, right? You want to evaluate by simply helping the person understand how to measure if their cars is getting traction on all of these platforms. So for instance, I have suggested to you that if you list your car on Gigi, you will make sales. So how do I help you understand, right, how long you can wait until your car is sold on Gigi? How long does it take to sell your car in Nigeria? Which is what leads me probably to the next subtitle in the blog, right? How long does it take to sell cars in Nigeria? Which is a means by which the guy can evaluate to see if these options I've listed above will eventually work for me, or when these items listed above are already working, how do I know if this was the resultant effect of what I placed or I put into practice, right? So which is what leads me to the next subtitle: how long does it take to sell cars online in Nigeria? So a guy that owns a car and is not too sure if it is worth it to wait for 6 months to sell his cars online in Nigeria, right, will get his answer from here, right? Because this is a means by which you are helping them to evaluate if listing their cars on free platforms, on premium platforms, and maybe learning SEO, learning to do Google Business Profile, or learning to build a website will be worth it at the end of the day, right? This is a means by which you help them to evaluate things, right, to see what is working and what is not working at the end of the day. So this is one content writing framework or structure that you can also replicate for any kind of content, right? But first of all, you must have your content brief. Do you understand? So I may not cover the long and short of content brief in this live session, but I simply urge you to take your time and go online and look for what a content brief is, understand a content brief, so that you can write a better content. So I hope this is good, and I hope this makes sense to you, everyone. So I will be stopping right here for tonight, right? And of course, we will be having our live sessions on YouTube every Sunday, where also we'll be inviting guests to have discussions around SEO content, and several other areas of digital marketing, which is obviously what happens on this platform, right? This is My Cup with Patrick. On this platform, I help to demystify digital marketing, breaking down all of the complexities of digital marketing, right? And in this particular live session, I have looked into how to write your content, SEO content writing tips, right? How exactly you can write your content in 1 hour without wasting so much time. And how exactly can you do this? You can do this by simply having your content brief and having your content framework in place, right? If you have this, it becomes easier for you to write your content in 1 hour or less. Do you understand? I hope this makes sense to you guys. So once again, thank you so much for gracing this live session, and let me have your comment, your best of comment in the comment section. If this made sense to you, if you got 1 or 2 values from this, right, please leave me a comment in the comment section. You can use the emoji, right, to show appreciation that, oh, I got value from this, and of course I will really appreciate that. So I will call it a wrap from here, and we'll be seeing some other time. Thank you so much everyone, and bye for now.